Hi, good morning, guys. Today in this class, we are going to see about the next unit, that is fourth unit, lipid metabolism. So, as per your syllabus, these are the contents we are going to discuss about under the lipid metabolism chapter. So, the first one is introduction. Yeah. The first one is introduction. The second one is important fatty acid oxidation, different kind of oxidation process, alpha, beta, and omega oxidation process. The next one is ketogenesis and ketolysis process. Then another one important things we are going to discuss one is biosynthesis of fatty acid and lipids. This is very important. The next one is after biosynthesis, it must be metabolized. Cholesterol metabolism. If once we have taken the dietary cholesterol, how is going to metabolize? Then what are the things is going to control the lipid metabolism? Important thing is hormonal. So what are the hormones is going to influence that lipid metabolic process? All those things we have discussed in this chapter. The next one is important things. Whatever it is, we can say metabolism, catabolism process, all those things. In physiological function, in normal physiological functions, in some cases, in some persons, it may some defects will be there. So what are the different types of defects is there? So as per your syllabus, we are going to discuss about three important defects. One is atherosclerosis, second one is fatty liver, third one is hypercholesteremia. So these are the contents we are going to discuss in this chapter. So in this class today, in this class I am going to discuss about the initial thing, introduction. If it is possible, I can explain about the beta oxidation also. Yeah. So in this introduction part, we are going to see about what is lipids, what are the types of lipids is there, how it's going to transport, how it's going to major metabolic pathway, how it's convert into one product to another product, how it's going to produce energy, so how it's act as a fuel reservoir. So all those things we have seen in introduction part. So first things, lipids, because the first point is going to denote the lipids is one of the major part for the cell structure and function. That's right. So first point you can see here, the lipids is act as a important raw material for the cell physiology and its function. So cell is made up of phospholipids. So the phospholipids is also one of these derivatives of lipids. So it is one of the very vital role, and also it's carry out some vital function. So it is very essential. Then physicochemical property wise, it's a hydrophobic in nature. It's a non-polar nature. The physicochemical properties wise, it's a hydrophobic in nature. That means it's never mingled with water molecule. It's a non-polar nature. Both the things is same is different. So it's a unique property. It's totally differ with some of the other compounds. Example, carbohydrate, proteins. Those are the substances mostly is a hydrophilic in nature. But in here, lipids are totally vice versa against those compounds. Here, lipids are hydrophobic in nature, non-polar nature. So I said earlier, the lipids are act as a various purpose. First one is act as a fuel reservoir. It's produce energy. So what are the substances? Even carbohydrate also produce energy. Lipids also produce energy. But which one is best? Which one is give more amount of energy? Those things we can see in further slides. But you just understand that triacyl glycerol. That means triglycerides. It's also act as a fuel reservoir. So if we are normal human beings, if we are adult human beings, around in overall weight, around 15 to 20% of the body weight, it's belong to lipid constituents. That means lipid is one of the major source for our physiological function. So around 50 to 20% of total body weight is occupied by lipids. The triacyl glycerols is also called as triglycerides. Okay, you just termed as triacyl glycerols is also called as triglycerides. Simply we can denote TG. So it's a most abundant lipids comprising 85 to 90%. Out of 100% of total lipids, the TG, triacyl glycerol or triglycerides, is composed around 90 percentage. Okay, so overall body 50 to 20 percentage is lipids is there. In lipids category, around up to 90% triglycerides are a major thing. So most of the triglycerides are, it's also called as neutral fat, otherwise depot fat. Most of the triglycerides is stored in adipose tissue. That's important. Next point. So triglycerides are stored in adipose tissue. It serves as a energy reserve for our body. So whenever body need energy, first source is glucose. If it is not available, second source is lipids. Okay, so it's act as a energy reserve. It's not directly is going to be an energy producer. When the glucose is not available, that time the lipids is come to the role. It's going to produce the energy. So it is totally contrast to the carbohydrate and proteins, because carbohydrate, glucose is not stored as such in our body. It must be condensed into glycogen, then it's stored. But the lipids are stored as such as in triglycerides form in adipose tissue. And along with that, this fat is one of the major role to control the body temperature, because it's act as a insulating material. Yeah. So the next one is why should be fat as a fuel reserve in our body? Because it's having some unique characteristics. What are the characteristics? Means it's having two main reasons. Fat, why the fat is producing it's having two important reason why the fat is act as a fuel reserve in our body. The first one is energy. The triglycerides are, it's produce much more energy when compared to the other energy resources. Example, carbohydrate or proteins. We just see the we just see here the 1 gram of triglycerides, it's produce the energy is around 9 calories. But if it is carbohydrate or protein, means it's produce only 4 calories. So the energy wise, the triglycerides are produce more amount, huge amount. When compared to the carbohydrate, it's double. So that's one of the main reason. The second one is physicochemical properties. The second reason is it's a non-polar and hydrophobic in nature. So it is very useful in storage form. So because the glycogen is always, if it is a other reservoir, means glycogen. The glycogen also is act as a reservoir, energy reservoir, but the glycogen, it must be stored along with water molecule. But here triglycerides is no need for water to reserve places. That's the thing. Stored in a pure form without any association with water. It's stored as an anhydrous form. But in other hand, glycogens are protein. It's a polar nature, so it must be stored with presence of water molecule. You can see here the 1 gram of glycogen, it's combined with 2 gram of water for storage condition. But in triglycerides, this problem is not at all occur, because it's non-polar nature, hydrophobic nature, so no need for water to storing conditions. That is, these are the two reasons. It's influence the triglycerides act as a wonderful fuel reservoir. The second one is some additional point is there. As I said, when compared to the fat, the glycogen, when compared to the glycogen, the fat is produce more amount of energy. 1 molecule of fat is equal to energy. It's equal to 6 times of glycogen energy. So it's produce more amount of energy. So for example, we can compare with the normal healthy adult. If it is a normal healthy adult, means it's having in our overall body weight around 10 to 11 kg of fat has been stored. That is equal to 10 to 20, 15 to 20% of total body weight. So that amount of fat, it's equal to 1 lakh calories. Our normal normal life, our basal metabolic process, otherwise our regular activities, we need per day just 3000 calories, kilocalories. Here our body fat, it's equal to 1 lakh calories. So you just imagine that much amount of energy it's stored in glycogen, means it's equal to around 55 kg of body weight, it must be increased. That means the 10 kg of fat is equal to around 55 kg of glycogen. So that much amount of 1 lakh kilocalories of energy is stored as glycogen, means your body weight must be increased around some more 55 kg. So the lipids are, it's a high amount of energy, at the same time the weight also is going to reduce. That's a reason, because it's produce high amount of energy. And another one thing is that we said glycerides, triglycerides. So what is the triglycerides? Means it's made up of fatty acids. So those things we will see in further slides. So the lung, here you just imagine the what is points and all. Here you no need to confuse about what is fatty acid and all those things. We just memorize this point. Long chain fatty acids, it's ideal storage of fuel reservoirs, because this long chain fatty acid, it's going to store, it's act as a storage fuel reservoir for our body. So fats can support the body energy during food deprivations. So you just imagine if it is in extreme condition, if you can't able to take food, means normally our bodies take the energy from first source is glycogen. The glycogen is act as a instant energy. The glycogen is immediately is going to glycogenolysis, is going to produce more amount of glucose. So it's act as a instant energy that's sufficient for maybe 1 day or 2 days. But you just imagine if you are stuck with some other place, you can't able to take food for more than a month, means you can able to survive without taking food with presence of water. You are just consuming the water without taking any solid food material, you can survive up to 90 days. How is possible? Means your body fat is around 10 to 11 kgs. So the fat is going to undergoing the metabolic process, catabolic process, lipolysis process. So it's going to release more amount of free fatty acids. Lipids is going to break down into fatty acids. The fatty acids is produce the energy for your basal metabolic process. So even without taking your food, you can able to survive for up to 60 to 90 days based upon your psychological behavior. Your psychology is here act as an important role. So simply you have panic, you are not, I am not taking food, I must to take a food. If you are panic, means you can't survive up to 60 days. But your physiology is ready to make survey up to 90 days. Only thing, your psychology is act as an important role. So if it is a normal person, up to you can survey 90 days. If it is obese person, that person can able to survey up to 1 year also, because they having more amount of fat. So the same scenario is going to applicable for hibernating animals. If it is animals is going to under hibernation, means that time is not at all going to take any food. It's going to utilize the fat, stored fat, for energy purposes. So another one example is there, the ruby-throated hummingbird. It's going to fly more than 16 hours continuously at the speed of 40 kilometers per hour. It's travel from the around 2,400 kilometers. How is possible? The reason is fat. It's going to utilize the fat energy, is continuously use this energy. So the fat is act as a wonderful reservoir of energy. The less amount of fat is capable to produce more amount of energy. That's a person. So next one is important body lipids. Still now we said lipids, triglycerides and fatty acids is act as a storage reservoir, all those things. Okay. But in our body actually, what are the different types of lipids there? Means the thing is, first one phospholipids, the second one is glycolipids, the third one is glycerols. So mostly the lipids is available in these three formats, either phospholipids or glycolipids or cholesterol. So each of every material is having a unique role. It's going to involve the various physiological functions. So example, the cholesterol is one of the major important raw material for the production of bile acid and steroid hormones. In our physiological function, the hormonal changes happen at the period of time. So where it's act as a, where it's going to synthesize sorry, the steroid hormones is synthesized in various places. Example, sex hormones. So So for the 6-hormone biosynthesis, this cholesterol is act as a reservoir. This cholesterol is act as a basic raw material. This cholesterol only is converted into the steroidal hormones. At the same manner, it's act as a resource for. At the same manner, it's act as a resource for bile acid synthesis. Then second one is fatty acids, arachidonic acid. It's unsaturated fatty acid. It's unsaturated fatty acid. So it is essential for the production of various substances. Example: prostaglandins, thromboxanes, or prostacyclins. So this is essential for during normal physiological function and pathological function also. It's having a role on both the conditions, because this prostaglandins or thromboxanes, it's having some physiological role also. So whenever you get the inflammation, it's due to the arachidonic acids. Arachidonic acid is going to various reactions with the help of cyclooxygenase enzyme. It's converted into the prostaglandins or thromboxanase or prostaglandins. So those substances having some inflammatory reaction. At the same time, this substance is having some physiological role also. So for those purpose, these are the thing is very, very essential. The next one is transport of lipids. So first we have seen what is lipids, how it's act as energy reservoir, and what are the different types of lipids are there. These things are we have seen. So the next one is transportation. So we know that the lipids it's mostly we can get from our dietary source. The second one is the lipid is biosynthesis in our body itself. Only two ways are out. Either it's biosynthesis in our body. The second one is dietary resource. Mostly we have taken lipids from the dietary resource. Partially the some amount of lipids material has been synthesized in our body, biosynthetic process. So once we have taken this dietary lipids, how it's going to mobilize from the GIT, how it's going to enter into the bloodstream, from the bloodstream how it's going to travel, how it's going to metabolize, how it's converted into the different forms of lipids, where it's going to store. So this entire process has been connected with that transportation process. From the GIT, it must be entered into the bloodstream, then it's going to distribute it into various places. It's may based upon place. Liver means it's going to convert the various product, otherwise adipocytes means it may convert it into the some other product. So based upon the places, it may convert it into the some other product. For the basic thing, the lipids must be transferred. So here another one complication is there. What is the complication? Means our lipids are hydrophobic nature. It's never mingle with watery substance. Bloodstream is watery in nature. So how it's going to travel means with the help of proteins, our non-hydrophilic substance, lipids, it's complex with some kind of proteins. It's called as lipoprotein. It's going to form a complex with proteins. It's called as a lipoprotein. So try our lipids, it's going to complex with some proteins. It's called as lipoproteins. Those lipoproteins, it's transported to the entire bloodstream. So lipids as such, it's can't able to travel. That's a major important point. So what are the different kind of transport lipoproteins are there means? First one is chylomicrons and different types of lipoproteins. VLDL, LDL, HDL. VLDL means very low density lipoprotein. LDL means low density lipoprotein. HDL means high density lipoprotein. So along with that, some of the albumin free fatty acids also available, because this free small fragments of free fatty acid, short chain free fatty acids has been bind with albumin also. So these are the different kind of lipoproteins. So lipids are it's complex with some protein, it's called as lipoprotein. Some different kind of protein, lipoprotein also we have seen. So the next one is transport of free fatty acid. First one is lipids transportation. The second one is free fatty acid transportation. This free fatty acid it's also it's called as non-esterified, otherwise unesterified fatty acids. Normally this free fatty acids, it's complex with some kind of plasma protein, example albumin. So it's going to complex with albumin. It's called as fatty acid binding protein. Albumin is called as fatty acid binding protein. So this is long chain fatty acid. If it is short chain fatty acids means It's morely if it is short chain fatty acids means it's relatively more water soluble, so it's available in fatty acid ion, otherwise it's available in unionized form also. So lipids are, it's going to complex with protein, it's called as lipoproteins. The major lipoproteins are chylomicrons, VLDL, LDL and HDLs. If it is free fatty acids means, if it is free fatty acid means, if it is long chain free fatty acid means, it's going to complex with plasma protein albumin, it's called as a free fatty acid binding protein. Short chain means it's available in existence in unionized form itself. These are the major concept in transport. So now we have seen what is lipids, types of lipids, and fuel reservoir mechanism and transport mechanism. Yeah, the next one is plasma lipids. So as far as we know that the lipids are normally stored as a fuel reserve, either it is stored in adipose tissue, otherwise a liver, in various places. So apart from that, it must be mobilized through the blood circulation for various purposes. So those plasma lipids, it act as a wonderful parameter to evaluate the person, either the person is normal or abnormal. So for that purpose, we need some reference value. So here I have tabulated some reference value. That means normal values. So if we are taken the plasma, in that plasma, the total lipids, total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, VLDL, triglyceride, phospholipids, free fatty acids, all those things are present in your blood plasma. So up to this range, these are the reference normal range. Up to this range is your level is there, means no problem. If this level is extreme means it is called as hypercholesteremic conditions. It may lead to the atherosclerosis. At the same manner, if it is your value, the this value is maybe reduced means it may produce hypocholesteremic condition. Here another one interesting fact is that normally the total lipids, triglycerides, if it is increased means we can say hypercholesteremia, it is not good for health. And if it is less means hypocholesteremia, that's also not good for health. But here in total cholesterol level, three different types of cholesterol, like LDL, HDL and VLDL. Here you are just focus about that. HDL is one, it's act as a good cholesterol, it's act serve as a good cholesterol. LDL or VLDL is act as a bad cholesterol. Why means the HDL, high density lipoprotein, is transport the lipids from the bloodstream into liver. So it's a beneficial. So the transporting cholesterol is going to attach with the cell wall, it's going to accumulate, so at last is going to totally obstruct the blood vessels, so it's lead to angina pectoris. If the thing is cholesterol accumulation happen in the coronary artery means it's going to obstruct the blood flow towards the heart itself, so that condition is called as anginal pectoris. So the HDL is act as a good cholesterol, that means is going to mobilize the cholesterol from blood circulation into liver, so it's very good. But LDL or VLDL are transport the cholesterol from liver to adipose tissue. So the LDL VLDL level is more means that is high risk. HDL is high means that's very good. So if it is normal condition, the HDL cholesterol is high amount means that is very very good. LDL VLDL level must be under the control. If it is exceed means it is very high risk, become the person is become atherosclerosis condition. So the next one is dynamic states of body lipids. Yeah, before the last slide I said the lipids are must be transported from the blood circulation from the liver to adipose tissue, then dietary cholesterol, dietary diets, sorry. So in previous slide I said the transporting mechanism, the lipids are from the dietary resource means it must be absorbed, it must be transported towards the either it must be transported towards the liver. So in liver it may convert into the other product, then it's once again it's migrated into adipose tissue, it's stored in a fat. So for those purpose the cholesterol is must be transported through towards various places through bloodstream. So what is the exact role, what is the condition, what the lipids are is available in dynamic state condition means you can see here in earlier days, olden days, they are believe the lipids are is a inert substance, it's stored as a compounds, just all they believe it doesn't having any significant function, but later they are found the lipids are, it's one of the major important thing is going to produce more amount of energy, it's act as a energy reservoir because it's continuously degraded and resynthesis. In later experiments they are proved the body lipids are continuously is going to degraded when our body need energy, glucose is not available, glycogen also not available means the reserved fat is going to under the lipolysis process, it's going to degrade process is produce more amount of energy. At the same time, when it is excess amount of glucose is there, more amount of lipid is there means it's going to lipogenesis process. So it's continuously degraded and resynthesized processes happen. So they found later. So you can see here this picture. The fat is stored in adipose tissue. Okay, that's right. The fat is stored in adipose tissue. It's a storage depot. So from the liver, it's going to the dietary substance. If it is a dietary substance means from the small intestine, it's going to absorb. The lipids are is going to absorb. So the chylomicrons is transported in bloodstream. Then also triglycerides also is going to transported. So it comes to the adipose tissue. It's stored as a triglycerides. So chylomicrons are dietary triglycerides as such is comes to the blood circulation. It's going to stored in triglycerides in adipose tissue. That's one way. In other way, the VLDL, the liver, it's going to produce VLDL. That means very low density lipoprotein. That is also one form of lipids. So in the VLDL form, from the liver is going to transport in the bloodstream. It comes to the adipose tissue. Yeah. So from the small intestine, it's really the dietary lipids are is absorbed. It's transported towards the adipose tissue, either in the form of chylomicrons or triglycerides. So in adipose tissue, it's stored in a triglycerols. So the parallelly in liver, the liver is going to synthesize more amount of lipoproteins. So the VLDL in the VLDL form, it's enter into the blood circulation. That's VLDL is enter into the adipose tissue. It's stored as a triglycerides. So whatever it is way, either the biosynthesis from liver, otherwise dietary supplements, entire things is comes to the adipose tissue. It's stored as a triglycerides. So when our body needs energy, that time either adipose tissue is it's going to under the catabolic process, that triglycerides is going to under the catabolism, it's going to release the free fatty acids. So the free fatty acids is capable to produce energy. So the free fatty acids is producing energy for either muscle or liver or heart. So for energy resource purpose. Otherwise the dietary free fatty acids, otherwise the biosynthesis fatty acids also is going to produce the energy. But during starving condition, the biosynthesis also is not going to happen. Dietary supplement also not available means that time your adipose tissue is only hope to produce the free fatty acids. So those free fatty acids produce the energy for some basal workout process. So this is a dynamic state of body lipids. So the next important thing is mobilization of fat from adipose tissue. So still now we have seen triglycerides or chylomicrons or VLDL. It's coming out from either liver or dietary sources, small intestine. It comes to adipose tissue. Okay, once the cholesterol is enter into adipose tissue, stored in your triglycerides, how it's going to redistribute? That means the adipose tissues must be liberate the fat, then only it's going to utilize the energy purpose. So how it's going to happen means the triacylglycerol is stored in the fat in adipose tissue. That's a basic concept, we know that. So the hormones is involved the major role for this purpose. Particularly, so the hormone sensitive triacylglycerol lipase, that enzyme name is triacylglycerol lipase, that is hormone sensitive. Hormone is going to control this enzyme. So that triacylglycerol lipase enzyme, it's responsible for remove the fatty acid either from carbon 1 or 3. If it is in triglycerides, we have seen it's 1 and you can see in next slide 1 and 3. carb, you can see here, yeah. This is a triacylglycerol. So this is one fatty acid, two and three fatty acids are combined with glycerol. So this is a triglycerase or triglycerol. So under lipolysis process, with presence of water molecule, it's going to produce the water molecule. So for this process is produced three free fatty acids and one glycerol molecule. So one triacylglycerol is going to lipolysis process, means it's produced 3 molecule of water, 3 molecule of free fatty acids and 1 molecule of glycerol. So it's going to produce the energy and water and some byproduct glycerols. So this glycerol is may act involved in the some other purpose also. You can see in next slides. So this is the mechanism. So these enzymes, enzyme, which one enzyme is responsible means triacylglycerol lipase enzyme. It's responsible for the lipolysis process. Yeah, in this slide we can see what are the hormones, how it's going to control the lipolysis process through TG lipase, triacylglycerol lipase enzyme. As I said earlier, the hormone is going to control the TG lipase, triacylglycerol lipase enzyme. So normally in lipase enzyme, it's available in inactive form. When you can get the signal, hormonal signal, it must be activated. It's become active form. The active form of lipase enzyme is undergone the lipolysis process. So technically we can say means it's an inactive form. It's available. It's a B form. You just imagine it's a B form of inactive form. So after activation, it's converted into A form. So for before activation, after activations. So before activation it is B, after activation it's called as A. So what is activation? We said activation. What is exactly activation? Means nothing but it's a phosphorylation of that enzyme. So inactive form means dephosphorylation process. So the dephosphorylated enzyme, when it get phosphorylated, it's become activated. So this process has been catalyzed by the cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase enzyme. So the protein kinase enzyme, which is responsible for the activation of lipase enzyme. So this protein kinase enzymes has been controlled by hormones. Maybe in a picture you can clearly understood. So several hormones, here is no need to about the mechanism, you just memorize the hormones. Several hormones such as epinephrine, adrenaline and noradrenaline, glucagon, thyroxine and ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. These are the hormones is going to activate this process. That means it's going to activate the lipase enzyme. It's going to promote the lipolysis process. It enhances the activity of adenine cyclase. So then it's going to increase the lipolysis process. In vice versa, in some of the hormones is going to reduce the lipolysis process. In other hand, you can see the example, insulin, it's going to decrease the cyclic AMP levels. So it's going to inactivate the lipase. What is the purpose? Why the insulin is doing such kind of activity? Means the insulin must be reduce the blood glucose level. That is the important role. At the same time, it's going to control the lipolysis process, because once the lipolysis means it's produce more amount of energy. So the glucose is not at all has been utilized. So it's going to act on this mechanism. So insulin is going to decrease the cyclic AMP level. So it's going to inactivate the lipase enzyme. In some of the substance, example caffeine, it's going to promote the lipolysis process by indirect mechanism. What's a mechanism means? It's going to increase the cyclic AMP level through inhibition of phosphodiesterase enzyme activity. So that means you must know what is phosphodiesterase enzyme. The phosphodiesterase is an enzyme. It's responsible for degradation of cyclic AMP. The cyclic AMP has been degraded by phosphodiesterase enzyme. So the caffeine substance, derivative substance, is going to block the phosphodiesterase enzyme. So the cyclic AMP is not at all deactivated. If it is not deactivated, means it's going to activate the protein kinase. Then it's going to activate the lipase enzyme. Lipolysis is going to increase. That's the reason. Yeah. So maybe you can see in green tea ads, they said It's having number of polyphenols, is going to activate the antioxidant property, all those things. So it comes under this mechanism. Those coffee or caffeine derivative products is going to activate the cyclic AMP. It's going to increase the cyclic AMP activity through this mechanism. So in this picture you can clearly understand what the mechanism. So you just see here, this is the enzyme, hormonal sensitive triacylglycerol lipase enzyme, inactive form, that means P form, before activation. So when it's going to activated, after activation it's going to act on the triacylglycerol. Triacylglycerol must be converted into the diacylglycerol, that means removal of one free fatty acids. Then remove another one free fatty acid means it's converted into the monoacyl. Remove third free fatty acid means it's become a glycerol. So this process is carried out by this enzyme, triacylglycerol lipase enzyme. So that enzyme is activated means is going to carry out this process. But normally those enzymes is available in inactive form. So when it's going to activate, it must be undergone the phosphorylation process. So the phosphorylation process, the phosphate group is donated by ATP. So ATP is going to donate. One phosphate group is going to attach with the lipase, it's become activated. So the ATP is down-regulated into ADP. This reaction is controlled by protein kinase. So the protein kinase is going to convert this reaction. So how the protein kinase is going to involve the function means, this protein kinase is activated by cyclic AMP. So the cyclic AMP is controlled by these enzymes. So normally this ATP with this activation of adenyl cyclase enzymes, these are the hormones, epinephrine, adrenaline, noradrenaline, glucagon, thyroxine, glucocorticoids, ACTH, all those things, it's going to activate the adenyl cyclase. This is the first one. It's going to activate the adenyl cyclase. So it's going to produce more amount of cyclic AMP. If it is cyclic AMP is available means it's going to promote the protein kinase activity. If it is protein kinase is available means it's going to convert the lipase enzyme from the dephosphorylated into phosphorylated form. That means inactive form to active form. If it is activate means it's going to carry out the lipolysis process. So once this process is going to stop, when this active enzyme it's once again is going to dephosphorylate it, that means it's going to remove one phosphate group, means with the help of phosphatase enzyme it's become inactive. So this is a cycle. So total entire process is controlled by hormones. So hormones is activate the adenyl cyclase, it's promote the cyclic AMP, protein kinase activation, then phosphorylation is going to happen. So phosphorylated means active lipase enzyme is going to involve this function. This is the entire process. So we have seen some other process also. Insulin. What it's insulin done? It's going to deactivate the cyclic AMP. The cyclic AMP is converted into the 5-des AMP. That means the phosphodiestase enzyme is going to degrade the cyclic AMP. This reaction has been stimulated by insulin. But caffeine is going to inhibit the phosphodiestase enzyme mediated activation. So this is the process. From this picture you can easily represent or easily you can write how the hormones is going to control the lipolysis process. So the next one is fate of glycerol. Because up to last step we know that this is a triacylglycerol is going to metabolize, it's going to produce the free fatty acid. So the free fatty acid is undergoing the energy resource purpose. Then residual product is also there, glycerol. How the glycerol is going to further reactions. So that's a step here. So how the glycerol has been converted into the other product means you can see here the glycerol molecule with presence of glycerol kinase enzymes. Normally this adipose tissue is the lack of this enzyme glycerol kinase. So in adipose tissue is can't able to carry out this reaction, but this enzyme is transported from the liver means it's going to activated. So it's convert into the glycerol into glycerol 3 phosphate. So the glycerol kinase It's convert the glycerol into glycerol 3 phosphate. The same here, phosphorylation is going to happen on this place. The phosphate group is donated by ATP. So this glycerol 3 phosphate, it's further divided into two processes. It may enter into two different processes. One side it may enter into the synthesis of triacyl glycerol. Once again it's going to synthesize the triacyl glycerol because the glycerol is a raw material. Once the glycerol is available means just free fatty acids is going to attach together. 3 free fatty acids attach means it's become a triacyl glycerides. So the glycerol is a raw material for synthesis of triacyl glycerol. Otherwise it's converted into the phospholipids. That's a one side. The parallel side, the glycerol 3 phosphate, it's enter into the glycolysis process also by intermediate product of dihydroacetone phosphate. So it's going to remove the hydration process, remove the hydrogen molecule by NAD. So it's going to convert it into the dihydroxyacetone phosphate. This material is entered into the glycolysis process. So up to now we have seen triacyl glycerol is metabolized, it's produced free fatty acids. The free fatty acids is utilized for energy resource purpose. The residual glycerol is also there. The glycerol also is entered into the some other pathway. It's converted into the glycerol 3 phosphate with the help of glycerol kinase enzyme. That glycerol 3 phosphate is entered into the two process. Maybe it's converted into the once again triglycerides or phospholipids biosynthesis. Otherwise it's converted into the dihydroacetone phosphate process. Then it's entered into the glycolysis step. So this is the regulation of hormone synthesis. So next one is there. Still now we have seen triglycerides. It must be metabolized. It's produced the free fatty acid and triglycerides. Next we have seen glycerols is enter into the metabolic reaction, is converted into the either TG or phospholipids, otherwise glycolysis purpose. The remaining substance is there na free fatty acids. How this free fatty acid is going to metabolic process, how it's going to convert into the other product, how it's going to act on the various function. Here fate of free fatty acids. The fatty acids, once the triglycerides is undergoing the lipolysis process, the fatty acids must be released. So from the adipose sites. So the free fatty acids is enter into the circulation. It's transported to the albumin. We know that the fatty acids, long chain or short chain free fatty acids. Long chain free fatty acid means is going to bound with albumin. Short chain is existing in the as usual unionized form itself. So long chain means is going to bound with albumin. So the free fatty acids bound with albumin, it's enter into the various tissues for utilize for energy. As far as we know that the free fatty acid is act as far as we know that the free fatty acid is one of the energy resource material. When the glucose or glucon is not available, that time free fatty acids is produce the energy. You can see here about 95% of the energy is obtained from fat, come from oxidation of fatty acids. So when the fatty acid is going to oxidation process, that time it's produced more amount of energy in our body. Around 95% of energy is gained by that process, apart from the starving condition, glucose mediated energy resource purpose. But here also some exception is there. Certain type of tissues or things is not at all utilize the fatty acids for energy resource purpose. The substance are brine and erythrocytes. These are the substance it's utilized for glucose as a energy resource. So brine, it's not at all, it's used as a fatty acid, free fatty acid as a energy resource. Same like erythrocytes also same. This both the substance brine and erythrocytes, it's used a glucose as a energy resource. It's never utilized the free fatty acid for energy production purpose. But remaining parts, either muscles, even heart, it utilizes a free fatty acid for as a energy resource. So this is the fate of free fatty acids. So next we can see the defects. Next we can see the important defects, that is Ullmann's disease. So what is this thing means? It's a rare genetic disease, is characterized by accumulation of lipids, particularly in triglycerides form, cholesterol esterase form in spleen, liver and small intestine and adrenal gland. So the lipids are stored in these are the places, spleen and liver and small intestines. So what's going to happen? It's going to enlarge the organ. Spleen is going to enlarge, liver also is going to enlarge. So it's lead to various complications. The reason is going to accumulation of lipids. It's a rare genetic disorder. So what is the reason means? This disease, genetic disease occurs due to the deficiency of enzyme. The enzyme is responsible for the lipase enzyme. The enzyme is lysosomal acid lipase enzyme. So that we know that the lipase enzyme is responsible for the lipolysis process. So due to this genetic disorder case, this enzyme lysosomal acid lipase enzyme is not available. So the lipids is not undergoing the lipolysis process. So lipids as such is stored in these are the organs, spleen, liver and small intestine and adrenal gland. So the next one is we have seen in a triacyl glycerol and fatty acid cycle. Still now we know that triglycerides is one of the basic raw material. Then it's going to the lipolysis process, release the free fatty acid. Then glycerol, free fatty acid is undergoing the metabolic process. It's producing energy. Glycerol is once again is converted into the triglycerides. These all those things we have seen. So it's a cycle. Triacyl glycerol and fatty acid. This entire process is act as a cycle. You can see here this picture. So the triglycerides under lipolysis, it produces the fatty acid. This fatty acid is undergoing the oxidation process. It's converted into the acetyl-CoA. So that's the energy reservoir. This acetyl-CoA may enter into the TCA cycle, means it's producing energy. Otherwise, this acetyl-CoA is act as a other pathway also, ketogenesis pathway. These things we have seen in further classes. So the triglycerides is undergoing the lipolysis process. Then it's converted into the fatty acid. Then glycerol, another side glycerol. So free fatty acids undergoing the oxidation process is produce the acetyl-CoA. That acetyl-CoA is once again it's may converted into the fatty acids with it's called as lipogenesis process. So the lipogenesis process means it's a formation of lipids from the acetyl-CoA. So this acetyl-CoA is once again is converted into the fatty acid. It's esterified means it's once again is converted to the triglyceride. So it's a cycle. When need energy, that time the lipids is going to break down. It's produce fatty acids. It's convert the its oxidation. It's convert the acetyl-CoA. If it is more amount of acetyl-CoA is there, means it's undergoing the lipogenesis process, formation of fatty acids. Then it's esterified. It's converted into the triglyceride once again. So it is a totally cyclic process. Yeah, you can see here during starvation condition, the stored triglycerides, the adipose tissue is hydrolyzed. It's produced free fatty acid. So it's further oxidation. It's produced the energy for skeletal muscle and cardiac muscles. That's a normal process. However, around 65% of this free fatty acid, it's converted into the triglycerides. It's back to once again is back to adipose tissue for deposition. That means storage process. So this is a cycle. This process, lipolysis of triglycerides and re-esterification of free fatty acid into triglycerides is the total. It's termed as a triacyl glycerol fatty acid cycle. So it's totally cycle. So that's all. Up to here we have seen the introduction part. So once again I can rewind all those things for better understanding. So yeah, in first we have seen introduction, what is the lipids, what is important function, and the next one is triglycerols, what is the storage condition, what's a termed as, where it is stored, adipose tissue, all those things we have seen. So it is essential for the resource, energy resource. Then it's act as a fuel reservoir. Why means it's two-way. It's produce more amount of energy and it's anhydrous form. It's no need for water molecule to storage condition. So because of these two reasons, the triglycerides act as a wonderful energy resource. Along with that, if there's a less amount of space is produced more amount of energy, it's utilized for in deprivation conditions. Even you can survive without taking for 16 to 90 days. Your stored fat is utilized for energy resource purpose. The next important body lipids, three things is there: phospholipids, glycolipids, cholesterol. Each one is having unique role. Cholesterol is essential for the biosynthesis of hormone and some of the other process, bile synthesis also. So the next we have seen transportations. Next, first actually lipids introduction, then first lipids introduction, then second one is fuel reservoir, then types of lipids. The next one is transportation process. It's always transport through the blood circulation in different form: chylomicrons, VLDL, LDL, and HDL, and also is available in the free fatty acids. If it is free fatty acid, means it's stored with albumin, bind with albumin, so it's mobilized in blood circulation itself. So it must be available in some reference value. If it is exceed, means it may produce some unwanted desired effect. The condition is called as atherosclerosis or hypercholesteremia condition. These are the some normal values we have seen. So the dynamic state, how this cholesterol is continuously mobilized from liver and small intestine, how it's going to stored in adipose tissue, all those things. The stored triglycerides is undergoing the lipolysis process, is produce fatty acids that is utilized for the muscle and liver energy utilized purpose. All those things we have seen. The dynamic state. The next one is mobilization. The stored form in adipose tissue is stored. The transport over it's stored in adipose tissue. Once it's stored, how it's going to hydrolyze? Means it's with the help of lipase enzyme. The triacylglycerol is undergoing the lipolysis process, is produce 3 free fatty acids and glycerides. This is mobilization process. So it's controlled by hormonal things. Hormones means two different kind of hormones is going to involve the functions. Either it's going to stimulate the lipolysis process, is inhibit this lipolysis process. The lipolysis process stimulated by the activation of lipase enzyme. That lipase enzyme is activated by the these are the hormones: epinephrine, glucagon, ACTH. All those things is going to activate the cyclic AMP through adenyl cyclase activation. Protein kinase is going to activate the inactivated form of lipase enzyme. Once it's activated, means it's going to lipolysis is happen. Some of the substance, example insulin, is going to control the activation of cyclic AMP process. Through this mechanism is going to control the lipolysis process. So next one is, if it is lipolysis happen, means it's produce free fatty acid and glycerol. So the free fatty acid utilized for energy resource. Then what about glycerol? So the glycerol is undergoing the conversion of once again triglycerides, otherwise it's enter into the glycolysis cycle. So the enzyme glycerol kinase is responsible for the conversion of glycerol 3-phosphate. The glycerol 3-phosphate is entered into two way. Either it's formation of triglycerides or phospholipids. In other way, it's converted into the dihydrogenone phosphate. Then it's entered into the glycolysis cycle. The next one is free fatty acids. The fatty acids undergoing the oxidation process, it's produce more amount of energy. So most of our body it's utilize the energy resource is a free fatty acids during lack of availability of glycogen as a instant material or glucose as a material. If it is not available, means the fatty acids is produce the energy resource. So some exception is there. Brine and erythrocytes not at all is going to use a free fatty acids. So next Ullmann's disease is lack of lipase enzyme. The lipids are stored in major organs, spleen, liver, and small intestine. It's lead to complications. This type of case can't able to survive for long cases. Then this process, entire process, triacylglycerol is break down into the glycerol and free fatty acid. This free fatty acid is once again is oxidized, is converted into the acetyl-CoA. This acetyl-CoA is once again is entered into the lipogenesis process. Then it's esterified, means it's once again converted into the triacylglycerol. So this is the entire cycle. This is called as triacylglycerol and fatty acid cycle. So that's all. In next class we can see the fatty acid oxidation process. So here itself I can wind up the session. So I hope you can understand some basic concept about the lipid metabolism. Thank you. I can wind up this session.